We get a lot of questions about power. We're not exactly off-grid. We'd like to be off-grid, but we're not. Several reasons. The biggest reason is because we're surrounded by trees, and we rely on solar power to create our extra power, our off-grid power, but we don't have enough because of the trees. And I don't want to cut down all the trees. So I'll wait for them to die, and then maybe we'll get better. If we lived not where we do, but close by where it was all open sky, we'd absolutely produce enough power. But people ask me questions about how it works, so we're going to do a video on that. So some of this is going to be technical, but I'm going to try to keep it kind of so that everybody kind of understands what's going on. So we're going to start with a little whiteboard here. Dog's waiting for the ball. So here is the way our system works. This is the sun. The sun doesn't belong to us, but we get free use of it. So the sun puts out solar rays, obviously. Up on our roof, we have solar panels. Each one of those panels is rated at 350 watts. Now, a watt is part of an equation. A watt is power. And so a watt is equal to the number of amps times the current. So current is, so a light bulb, it used to be a 100-watt light bulb it's 100 watts, right? So a 100-watt light bulb, usually the current usually was 1 amp, and the voltage, I'm sorry, this isn't right. Amps is current, it's amps times voltage. So our voltage for a light bulb is 115 volts, right? So 115 volts, so it's about 1 amp times 115 volts is 100 watts. It'd actually be 115 watts, right? But so that's the formula you use to figure out watts. So if we have a 350 watt panel, that means we could run about 3.5 watt light bulbs. That makes sense? Okay, so, but we don't get 350 watts out of them, because one is they never generate the full power potential they have, hardly ever. So we actually, when I figured it, I figured 300 watts usually. And you only get that in full direct sun, which we only get about 3 or 4 hours a day. So we have 49 panels now. We just added 10 panels last week up to the roof. So they're all on the roof. There's 49 of them, and we'll show you those panels up on the roof. And we'll talk about how those panels are mounted in a minute. So those panels come down, they go through what's called a micro inverter. And an inverter is something that takes DC voltage or AC voltage and converts it. So DC is direct current. If you're looking at a graph, a DC current would look like this. So it would be 48 volts or 12 volts. Whatever the voltage is, it's always 12 volts all the time, straight line. If you're looking at AC current, it looks like a sine wave. So this would be 0 volts. And then what it does is it makes 220 volts or 115 volts. And then it goes like this, up and down. With that line being the 0, alternating current. So alternating current, direct current. What's the difference? Alternating current is usually much higher voltage than direct current, and it's more powerful because you've got voltage going both ways. So panels produce direct current. That's what solar panels do, is they make direct current. But we want alternating current because we use alternating current. So we have these things called microinverters. They're little boxes, and they're on every one of these. There's 49 of those. Those take that 350 watts or 300 watts or whatever it is and convert it on the roof to 220 volt AC. So direct current gets changed to alternating current on the roof. And another reason we use microinverters, because people compete, oh, you shouldn't do that. Well, when you have a lot of shading on panels, microinverters are very good at controlling getting the maximum amount of current out of those panels with shading. So that's why we do that. So there's about 10 panels in each array. We have an array. So you have 10 panels in each array. Well, I have 49 panels, so obviously I have 5 arrays. Okay, 5 arrays each bring wire down to the breaker panel. I'm going to show you, that's the one on the end. So that comes down into breaker panels, individual breakers for safety. Those then go into one big wire that goes into what's called an inverter charger. Okay, a 15 kilowatt inverter charger. An inverter, I already told you, we have micro inverters up here. This is a huge inverter. So this inverter also changes DC current to AC current and AC current to DC current. So it's an inverter charger. If it changes DC to AC, it's an inverter. If it goes from AC to DC, it's a charger. That's the way it is. So we use the inverter charger, which is like the hub of the system, to bring in the power from the solar panels, and then it goes out to, it takes that power and sends it out to the main house panel. The main house panel feeds all the lights and the air conditioning and the refrigerators and everything else. That's how you feed your house, through your main panel. You can have sub panels too, which we do, but mostly through the main panel. It also feeds and charges the batteries. We have, how many do we have? 4. We have 4 17.5 kilowatt, that's a K, kilowatt batteries. So I have a total of about 30 kilowatts in battery backup. So if the power goes out, if there's no solar panels and there's no grid power, so if we lose power from the grid, which also comes into this, the batteries automatically come on and will go into the inverter, which will invert the 48 volt batteries to 220 volts and send it to the house panel. So we always have power. All right, so that's a real big overview. So let's look at the different pieces. So this, the yellow wires are coming from the roof, coming from each solar panel. They come into individual breakers. Those individual breakers have little meters on them, so I can look real quick and I can say, oh look, that one's not producing anything. There's something wrong there right now. That's not right. So I got to go figure out what's going on there. This one's 8 amps, 14 amps, 11 amps. So we got a total of 42 amps. Should be 50 amps. I don't know what's going on here. I have to figure that out. So the power comes in and then it comes out of there and comes into this inverter. This inverter, isn't that pretty? The inverter comes in, the panel comes in here and feeds into the inverter. The grid comes in right here from outside through this breaker box. This is just a breaker box with huge breakers in it and a disconnect switch for emergency. Okay, that comes over and that also comes into the 15 kilowatt inverter charger. And then, so this inverter charger tells me it decides what to do. So right now we're using 9 kilowatts in the house, and we are actually using, well, it keeps changing. See that? So a load just went. Now we're at 7 1/4, and we're sending 1 1/4, 1 3/8 kilowatts back up to the power. It's going back up line, and they're not paying me for that, by the way. So I'm giving them free power. There's a big story behind that another time. So let's go back again. So the solar panels are coming in here and they're producing enough power right now to fully supply the house and send power back up the grid. If it was only like that all the time, it'd be awesome. So that's this smaller wire. And then this wire, these 2 wires are coming from the grid and they're coming into the inverter. And the inverter right now is saying, oh, you know what? You have enough power in the solar panels. We don't need any of the grid. We're only going to use the solar panels, and we're going to send that through these 2 wires back into the house panel. The house panel is feeding all of the house. These big wires right here come, and you have to have them exact same size. They come over here to distribution points, and those distribution points feed each battery. Each one of these batteries right now is fully charged. So if I could, right now, I don't need to, but I could take the whole thing off the grid, and if we needed to pull power, we could pull power from these batteries. But we use a lot of power, a lot of power. We have big air conditioner, we have 3 refrigerators, freezers, we have fans and microwaves, lights, we have all kinds of stuff. We use a lot of power. Trying to work on that, but that's how that works. So that's how the system works. This piece of machinery is called a gateway, and it monitors what's going on up with the panels, and it's telling me right here through that red light that there are panels that are not working. So I got to figure that out here and go find out what's going on here. I was up there yesterday. I may have kicked something and loosened a connection or something. I'll figure that out. But this tells me on my phone what's going on. I can look and see what panels are producing, because the microinverters tell me on every single panel, on every single microinverter, all 49 of them, I can look and see which one's doing what, if it's working, how much it's putting out, how much it's put out over the last day, week, month. I can run reports and all that stuff. So it's really been a big mind-numbing exercise to learn all about this and how it works. So the ones that are off are the southwest ones. I'll tell you how we're going to figure this out. We're going to take this wire that feeds this one right here, that goes right here to this one, and we're going to shut this down. And what that's going to do is that's going to turn the voltage off upstairs, and then I can figure out which one has no voltage, and I'll know which one it is. Well, sure, it'll be better. Maybe I should just leave this ladder up all the time. This is called a pass-through box, or a combiner box, right here. Now all of the wires from all of the arrays come in here. All right, so these are the wires going down to that panel. These are the wires coming up out of the panels. So what we're looking for here is those black and white little pieces there. Those are simply connectors. That's all they are. So what we're looking for is 220 volts across them. That's 238 volts. That's 239 volts. So it's this one. That's 1.2 volts. It's this one. I was in here the other day because when I put the other panels on. So did some of the wires come loose or something? See that wire's loose right there? That's what it is right there. And I don't have a screwdriver to put it back in. So I got to go get a screwdriver. So obviously I got a problem right there. When I put the new panels on, I probably loosened that wire because I was moving those. So I'm going to pop myself downstairs, get a screwdriver. So I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. All right, I got a screwdriver. I'm back. So this is live. I mean, there's 220 volts here, but hopefully as long as I don't really touch anything, I'll be all right. If I touch something, I'm going to get, oh, I heard that. That probably just flipped the breaker down there. Oh, look at that. Okay, I got to go turn that breaker off. That ain't going to work. That's live. We don't want that touching anything. Because there's an amp at 220 volts right there. That should now be dead. And we'll check it and be sure. We be dead. And then slide this over, slide that over. That's better. Loosen that. Yeah, kids, you don't want to work on live electrical systems. That's not a good idea.
While sitting on the roof.
Yeah, knock your ass right back off the roof. I have kind of shocked myself once or twice, so I can tell you, get your heart going. Okay, Shelly, my beautiful helper is going to go turn the breaker on. So we will see right now that we have no voltage. Here it comes. Boom, 237, okay? So it's on. So now what we want to do is see, we want to go to 20 amps AC, not DC, and we want to check this wire right here and see. Pull that out of there. It's still not producing. Definitely not producing. Definitely something going on here. Well, while I figure that out, while we're here, so this is the combiner box. This is where all the wires come down. They go through the roof right here down to the panel. So the inverters are right here, just a little box. And one of those is under every one of these. So the panel plugs into this. This plugs into these wires, which go down through there. So, and you can see, and then the way they're mounted, we have these pieces of flashing with a bolt that with this special little bracket. This is called iron ridge mounting system. So we put this lag bolt down through this flashing, and it slides up under the roof shingle, so it keeps it waterproof. And then this piece right here, you can see that this rail that you can see right here, this railing, mounts on to the bracket with that bolt. And there's one every 4 feet on the rafters. So the rafters are running this way every 2 feet. So every 4 feet we have a bracket. And then we just use these bolts to mount the panels, and they're held on. And this is all 115 mile an hour wind load and snow load. Is all done for our climate. So these panels should be good. And you can see these are the best group right here. Then the next best group is these. There's 7 here and 2 there. Those are combined. All those 4 are 1, and then those 4, and there's 5 on the other side on the west roof. Those are the least producing, and that's because of those 2 oak trees. In June 22nd, the sun was coming right through this clearing, but now it's starting to move more southerly. By December, it'll be going through those trees right there. These panels are the ones we just finished last week. There's 10 here. I've been waiting a year because I was going to put them on the shed down there. The shed's already getting shaded. That's why I decided not to do it there. And you can see that the panels there are still in full sun. The sun's starting to go down. What is it, 4 o'clock? And these are already getting shaded. And shading kills panels. Each panel puts out 1 amp at 220 volts. So at full sun, each panel will power 2 100-watt light bulbs. That's it. It's not very much. You probably can't see this graph on this little phone, but that shows me the power. The orange is the power we're using, and the blue is the power we're producing. So you can see we don't produce any power until mid-morning, and then it starts spiking. Those are probably clouds going by, and now you can see that we're matching the power going out. That's kind of the deal. Here's some things I would think about. Really important is how much sun you have. I think my ego let me think that there was more sun than there was. I'd come up here like right now, we're broiling, right? And I go, oh, it's plenty of sun. No, well, there's not. And without sun, you don't produce power. They're solar panels. So you have to be absolutely sure about the sun, amount of sun you have. Not at full day either, like from early morning to afternoon. How much sun are you getting? Because without sun, you're wasting your money. And then the second thing is orienting them to the sun so that they're facing the sun as much as they can. So best if you could put them out on the ground, out on a platform that moves with the sun. That's the best way, but that's expensive. Even though if you can put them somewhere where you've got good sun most of the day. Huge difference. I bought my system as a system because I really didn't know what I was doing. I bought my system as a system from a company called Alt-E. And they're an online store. They're good. Their customer service has been great. They do a lot of calculations for you, but they've never been here. They don't know. So they sold me a lot of stuff I didn't need. I would use the same company for as much as I could. The batteries, the panels, the inverters. I would use the same panel, the same everything that I could. That would be a difference too. And the other thing is that you got maintenance, right? Don't forget, you got maintenance. You got to keep them clean. You got the leaves get under them. You got to get the leaves out. And here, look at this. I got 9 panels that aren't producing, and I don't know why. So that's the other thing I would think about when you're doing power. 56, 57 amps. That's pretty dang good. 57 amps coming in from the panel. And the batteries are almost full. We're putting 4 kW into those. We're supplying 7 kW on the load. Just barely, a little bit of power, just minute coming from the grid. So we've been on all morning. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Phenomenal. I think I'm getting this down now. I just set it to go automatically. We had a problem yesterday. I was having trouble with one of the arrays. The dog's about to start barking. See? I'm really good. He's up in the bad boy over there, and the balls are in the back of the bad boy. Get it, bring it here. The problem we had with the array was, I finally figured out after an hour or more, is that there's connectors up there. One of the connectors was getting voltage. I'd get voltage there, and then I plug it in, and I wouldn't get voltage over there, and I'd unplug it, and then there'd be no voltage, and I'd open it up, and there'd be voltage, and it was getting old. So finally what I said is, I took it apart. I cut the wires, took the connectors off, and then I just butt spliced the wires together with heat shrink butt splices, and then heat shrink over all the wires, and just made a permanent connection so I can't split the wires. I just cut the wire if I ever have to, and that solved the problem. So we fixed that. But yeah, overall, everything I think is good. We like them. They certainly help. We were sending almost 4 kilowatts back up. I just looked about 30 minutes ago. We're sending 4 kilowatts back up the grid. Now, if I can just get with the power company and get them to give us a credit on our bill, we're still at about $100 to $200 a month on our bill in the summer when we're running 2 air conditioners. So in the winter, we should be good. So, and if we just take out these 3 oak trees right here, we should be good. But overall, I would say it's expensive. It's nice to have because you have power when there's no power from the power company, but it's a lot of work and it's not maintenance free. So we'll see how long they last. But I would do it differently, but I'm glad I did it. I think everybody here is glad we did it. So appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I know this might have been a little boring because it's technical, but hey, maybe you learned something. And if you got any questions, ask down below and I'll do my best to answer if you subscribe and push the button thing.